Can you talk a little bit more about the timing? Because I know that with Meltano, you're interfacing with a huge data engineering community, and then from some of the lessons learned from here, like I that you have some thoughts around the impact of when you build out a data engineering function either too late or like at least the cost that people should be aware of. Can you talk a little bit more about considerations around timing and building out your data engineering function for the first time, or the impact of what happens when it's too late?
The only caveat I'll give initially off the bat for that is like Meltano is a data focused company and is a data tooling company. So I felt it important as we were spinning out that we needed somebody on the leadership team that had like data in their title. And that's why I'm head of product and data. I don't want to be both for forever, but I felt that was important. That said, for any startup and especially 1 to 20 people, I do think you can really get away with built-in kind of analytics for some of these tools that you're probably already using. But around that, 15-20% mark, you need to be thinking about, okay, what is our data strategy going forward, and how are we going to get the answers to the questions that we currently have, and how are we going to be confident in them, and then how are we going to get the answers to the questions that we know we're going to have in the future. There was an old article from the Fishtown folks, now DBT Labs folks, about when to think about hiring folks. And they said like somewhere in between 1 to 50, depends kind of what your business is doing. My bias is that gets pulled forward a little bit, that if you can find somebody who is capable of coming in as a head of data or director of data, whatever the level is, but is also technical enough to implement some of the work, doing that around, somewhere between 50 and 30 people is hugely beneficial. And then growing the team from there anywhere from 2 to 5% of headcount, is kind of essential and is such an accelerator for most things that any business unit is trying to do, whether it's sales, whether it's marketing. They have questions on how well am I performing, and the data team is going to be best positioned to answer those questions for most companies.
On the other side of that, one of the big questions that oftentimes comes up with different engineering leaders that have worked within the community is kind of like that. How do you make the appropriate like how do you advocate for those resources, or appropriately communicate the strategy in a way where either the CFO or the CEO can make sort of like that ROI argument? Do you have certain parts of like the impact that a data engineering team has on the overall business that you can kind of point to and say, here's sort of the ROI or the impact to help somebody better communicate for those resources?
That's a good question. The way I've been framing it, the way I've thought about it in the past, is that the data team is one of the few parts of the organization that can typically be viewed as serving the entire company and also potentially all of your customers, depending on kind of what your product does. And so unpacking that a little bit, everybody in the organization is generating data and has questions on how they're performing and where there are opportunities for optimization. And the data team is generally best positioned to like tap into those data streams and start answering those questions and providing that value and looking for the bottlenecks. On the customer side, I think you can make the argument, if you have a ton of product analytics coming in, what are our customers using? Where are there opportunities for upsell and things like that? So there's like the whole sales motion and product development process that goes with that, but also just all the back office things. The ROI argument, some of it is a leap of faith in the early stages, particularly for maybe executives who have not seen high functioning data teams in practice. And I think that's where like the leadership and frankly, like the strong personality comes in of somebody coming in and advocating for this, to say this is important and you're going to see benefits, and the benefits are going to be sung by everybody else in the company. You can toot your horn all day long, but the best advocate for your work is the VP of sales or the head of customer success or head of marketing, saying like, we love what the data team is doing. They're answering all these questions for us, or they're helping us move faster and more focused because of the work that they're doing. And so I believe that's possible. But if they're wanting to see like a pure numbers outlay, that's harder, and it's just ironic and part of the nature of data teams, I think, where it's hard to justify and quantify our own value, even when we're able to provide a lot of value for other folks.